Good morning. Welcome to First Unitarian Church of Orlando. My name is Sarah Gray, a worship associate and a member of this congregation. With me in today's service are our minister, Reverend Margalie Belizaire, our director of Lifespan Religious Enrichment, Judith Stein-Farrall, our director of music, Aubrey Connelly-Candelario, with accompanist Danny Monzon-Villegas, board member Beth Tura, and our chalice lighter, Savannah. Finally, let's not forget our teams of wonderful people in the background working diligently to ensure that we come together this morning. So thank you. Children will go to activities when we sing them out after time for all ages, and the nursery is open until noon. We greet you this morning, old friends and new ones, as we explore our Unitarian Universalist faith, which draws us into a community of justice seekers with a commitment to lifelong spiritual growth and compassionate service to community. Whether today is your first or your 1000th Sunday in our midst, you are welcome here. Whoever you are, whoever you love, you are welcome here. In this community, your whole self is welcome. We welcome your race, national origin, immigration status, gender identity, sexual orientation, age, physical or mental abilities, economic status, or religious background. We welcome you. For more information about our congregation and announcements, please go to orlandouu.org or email info@orlandouu.org. We have some special announcements today. For Conversations with the Minister, Reverend Margalie will be in Classroom B for Conversations with the Minister. She would love to meet you, chat, and answer questions you might have about Unitarian Universalism, this congregation, or whatever this service brings up for you. Members and visitors are all welcome. From Religious Enrichment, our youth took part in a UUA-led event yesterday called the Constellation Youth Summit. They met with youth online and in person here to learn about one another and to work towards building a stronger and more engaged youth community. It was a full and lovely and productive day. This coming Wednesday evening, Judith invites all interested in participating in a new in-person dialogue group workshop in the gathering space. This is a workshop for building deeper listening and more open communications in order to cope and possibly improve some of the complex communication problems facing our world. All other announcements are on slides before and after the service and have links in the weekly update or on our website. If you would like to follow along to the service or see this week's upcoming events, please use the QR code showed on the monitor. Thanks again for being here in person and online today. All right, and now we have our chalice lighting. Our chalice lighter today is Savannah. Savannah is, here, the candle's right over there. Daddy will help you. Savannah is 6 years old and just started kindergarten this year. She likes to play outside and play the drums. And she says, since it's November, we asked what she was most thankful for, and she says she is most thankful for her community and her family. So please join me in saying these words as we light the chalice. In the light of truth and in the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. Ooh, thank you. I promise that lighter was working when I checked it this morning. Thank you, Savannah. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing our opening hymn, number 1017, We Are Building a New Way. The words will be projected on the screen.
Freedom. Good morning, beloveds. It is good to be with you this morning, and I am so grateful that you are able to join us, whether it's here in person or online. We are continuing with our theme this month, which is an invitation to practice repair. And with that in mind, I invite us to take the advice of Reverend Angela Herrera, which goes, don't leave your broken heart at the door. Bring it to the altar of life. Don't leave your anger behind. It has high standards, and the world needs a vision. Bring them with you. Bring your joy and your passion. Bring your loving and your courage and your conviction. Bring your need for healing and your power to heal. There is work to do, and you have all that you need to do it right here in this room. And come, beloved, let us start our worship this morning by greeting one another. And if there's somebody you have not met yet, you might want to walk across the way and say hello and welcome them. I guess your new book was Jennifer.
All right. As McConaughey says, all right, all right, all right. Good morning, everyone. For all the new folks in our building this morning, I'm going to get the hair out of my mouth. My name is Judith Stein-Farrall. I'm the Director of Lifespan Religious Enrichment. I did not hear. Do you want the whole script? You don't actually need it. I've got a couple helpers this morning. I'm going to walk you through it, okay? I've got a couple helpers this morning to tell us a story, but before they get up to help me, I want to know if any of the younger kids, young at heart, want to join us up here, be up close and personal to our actors this morning. So sorry, you're going to be like up close and okay. Just make room for them because they're going to need this space, okay? You're going to start with that bag, right? No, you're going to start with that bag, and you're going to end up at that side next to Kathy, where she's got her bag of cookies. Nope, there's one over there for you, and a book. All right. Why don't you sit right there with the kids? Good morning. So this morning, we are talking about things that don't always end up the way we expect them to. Once upon a time, a young woman was waiting in an airport departure area pending her flight home. After realizing there was a delay, she bought a small bag of chocolate chip cookies to enjoy while she waited. At a different part of the terminal, a young man was waiting in the airport's departure area pending his flight home, and after realizing his flight would be delayed, he bought a small bag of chocolate chip cookies and grabbed a book to read. Both people from different sides of the terminal made their way to the waiting area near their gate. The man sat down, opens the bag of cookies, and places it next to him on an open chair. He then opens a book to read. The woman finds the seat right near the man and sits down. She searches through her bags and pulls out a book to read. As she reads distractedly, she takes a cookie from the bag between her and the man next to her. The man notices, nods his head gently, takes a cookie as well, and continues reading. The woman notices how the man takes a cookie and shakes her head in frustration, takes another cookie, and goes back to reading. Both continue to read and take cookies and read and take cookies and get frustrated with one another. Or maybe the woman gets up, the man gets, both can, and then the flight is called to board. The man gets up, looks at the woman, nods with a smile at the woman, and heads to the plane. The woman gets up frowning, puts her bag away, puts her book away, shakes her head again, and as the man leaves, takes up the now empty bag, crumples it up, and puts it in her bag, where she sees her bag of cookies. Oh darn, she thinks. He was eating the cookies. I thought he was eating the cookies I bought. In truth, he was sharing his cookies with me. She goes after the man to apologize. Thank our actors, first of all. What I want to ask you all is what happened in this story? Yes, Daniele.
The girl that she was eating her cookies when she was actually sharing with the man.
She didn't know that, or she thought, well, she was sharing his, yep, that's right. Judith has to repeat the obvious sometimes. Thank you. What else happened? Charlotte. A misunderstanding. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, the woman was taking the man's cookie, and the man was taking the woman's cookie.
Well, she thought he was, right? So there was a mistake made, right? Something happened.
She wanted to apologize to the man.
Right. How did the woman feel when she thought, yeah?
There was a misunderstanding because of a lack of communication.
There was a misunderstanding because of a lack of communication. Awesome. Yes. The woman wasn't paying attention. So, what do you think the message in this is? The woman then, when she realized what happened, what did she do? She went to apologize. What do you think she'll do next time she misunderstands what's happening? Danielle?
Check to make sure it's her cookies.
Check to make sure they're her cookies. Yep. What do you think the message is here? Anybody? Kids and children. Yes?
Apologize after a misunderstanding.
Apologize after a misunderstanding. What do? Do you own the misunderstanding? Yep. You say, I screwed up. Yep.
You apologize to the other person.
Yep. Sometimes, what else can we do before the problem happens, Kathy?
Well, I love that the man didn't bring up, get your hand out of my bag of cookies.
Yeah.
He was willing to share and be friendly about it.
Yeah.
I thought that was very kind.
Kirsten? Reverend Kirsten, did you have something?
I was thinking maybe she could take a minute before she gets annoyed to say, am I seeing the whole picture?
Am I seeing the whole picture here? Is there more happening? Don't make assumptions. Don't make decisions on how to act before we know what's going on, right? That's the message today, is be aware there's more happening than the one thing you're experiencing, right? Be aware there's more happening than the one thing. and sometimes we need to communicate. Thank you all for participating in this Time for All Ages. Now I invite the adults in the center row in this row over here to form a bridge to sing our children out to class. I need to let you know our child care is only available till 12:30 this afternoon.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Good morning. My name is Beth Tura. I'm a member of the Board of Trustees here. We invite you now into the practice of generosity. It is one of our spiritual values which sustains the life and ministries of the church community. Let us be grateful for the opportunity to give, for it is a privilege to be able to do so. And let us be grateful for our needs, for they give us the opportunity to practice receiving. Today's full collection will go to the ministries of this congregation. You may also support this month's Share the Plate partner, Planned Parenthood of Southwest and Central Florida. Use the link in the newsletter or on the screen to donate directly to them. Please let one you know that you donated. The offering will now be collected. Note that you can also give online. Joyfully receive what is offered here today in the spirit of gratitude and fellowship.
I want to first, before we get into the next element of our service, to just Also thank the members of the Chalice Choir and Jacob with the band, with the drums, who are helping enhance our experience here today in worship. And this is the time we set aside for deep sharing of our hearts and for prayer and meditation. If you have a sorrow that you need witnessed or help with, or joy that you wish to share, please contribute to a collective sharing of joys and sorrows to be read each Sunday here during worship. If you want, you can send us something during the week using joys and sorrows at orlandouu.org. In person, you can complete a card at the welcome table there, and the greeters make sure we receive it here. Sarah, if you could bring me that one there, that would be wonderful. And we also make space for you to light a candle for the things you would like to continue to hold close to your heart. So, we invite you to bring your joys and your sorrows as we come together. Come just as you are, because your whole self is welcome here as we create sacred space together. The flowers here, they are provided by Cindy Schleier in honor of core and extended family birthdays. We have two sorrows next. One is Andy, reported to us that the family dog, Coco, was put to sleep on Friday. She was a wonderful dog and will be greatly missed, but she was in a lot of pain. So sorry for your loss, Andy. I can't imagine how I would be with, yeah. And then we have this note from Sherry Rondi's son, who sent us this by email to say that my sister and I are with Sherry now. We are keeping her company. My mom is extremely weak. She is talking and sipping Ensure, but hasn't eaten for days. Cancer meds have been stopped. Monday she will be assessed and may be put in hospice care then. If that's the case, she will be staying with her son and his wife and daughters. But right now, you just don't know, but they will be there for her. So if you would send just comfort and compassion and loving energy to not just Sherry, but to her family. And of course, we continue to hold our Orlando families in love, our communities with care, and the world with compassion by acting for justice in all the small and large ways that will move the arc of justice. And let us remember, beloveds, that we are connected to all living creatures, and let us send them all loving kindness. May all be at ease. Wanted to mention too, so if you missed it, November 13th was World Kindness Day. Woohoo! So it's a good thing you don't have to just be nice, kind on just one day, right? So you've got the rest of the year and next one to do so. And November 20th is Transgender Day of Remembrance. So that's a day that honors the memory of the transgender people whose lives were lost in acts of anti-transgender violence. So it's unfortunate that there has to be such a day, but it is a day of remembrance for transgendered folks. And if you have transgendered folks in your life, I believe the entire week actually is Transgender Week, but the 20th is the day of remembrance. Just really show love and support as needed. And for all the joys and all the sorrows of this community, shared today are those that we continue to hold close to our hearts. Let us pray, let us celebrate, and let us send one another healing energy. And this prayer here that I will share with you is from one of my favorite theologians, John O'Donohue, and it is a blessing for one who is exhausted. And when I think about it, I am feeling exhausted with all that is going on in the world. And I thought some of you might feel that too. So I wanted to share this blessing with you today. So sit as comfortably as you can, or whatever pose you take during times of prayer and meditation, as well as our sitting here. Sittings here will accommodate. When the rhythm of the heart becomes hectic, time takes on the strain until it breaks. Then all the unattended stress falls in on the mind like an endless, increasing weight. The light in the mind becomes dim. Things you could take in your stride before now become laborsome events of will. Weariness invades your spirit. Gravity begins falling inside you, dragging down every bone. The tide you never valued has gone out, and you are marooned in unsure ground. Something within you has closed down, and you cannot push yourself back to life. You have been forced to enter empty time. The desire that drove you has relinquished. There is nothing else to do now but rest and patiently learn to receive the self you have forsaken for the race of days. At first, your thinking will darken and sadness take over like listless weather. The flow of unwept tears will flow, and they will frighten you. You have traveled too fast over false ground, and now your soul has come to take you back. Take refuge in your senses. Open up to the small miracles you rushed through. Become inclined to watch the way of rain when it falls slow and free. Imitate the habit of twilight, taking time to open the well of color that fostered the brightness of day. Draw alongside the silence of stone until its calmness can claim you. Be excessively gentle with yourself. Stay clear of those vexed in spirit. Learn to linger around someone of ease who feels they have all the time in the world. Gradually, you will return to yourself, having learned a new respect for your heart and the joy that dwells far within slow time. And with these words in your heart, you are invited to come forward and light a candle of remembrance, of loving kindness, or hope. We will light the first one to honor the joys and concerns of those of you who are joining us online. And then we will light a last one for all the joys and sorrows we continue to hold. Come forward as you are willing and able.
comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul.
Life is short, though I keep this from my children. Life is short, and I have shortened mine in 1,000 delicious, ill-advised ways. 1,000 deliciously ill-advised ways I'll keep from my children. The world is at least 50% terrible, and that's a conservative estimate, though I keep this from my children. For every bird, there's a stone thrown at a bird. For every loved child, a child broken, bagged, sunk in a lake. Life is short, and the world is at least half terrible, and for every kind stranger, there is one who would break you, though I keep this from my children. I am trying to sell them the world. Any decent realtor walking through a real crap hole chirps on about good bones. This place could be beautiful, right? You could make this place beautiful. Maggie Smith. When I first thought of doing a sermon with the poem Good Bones as the central text, I was expecting a different outcome to our most recent presidential election. It took me some soul searching to shift gears and set my message within the context of a different outcome from what I had expected. It also took spending time and having conversations with beloved colleagues to remind me we have a lot of progress to build on, and this poem's message holds true, especially in our current context. In Good Bones, Smith captures a powerful paradox that resonates deeply. The world, despite its profound flaws and undeniable tragedies, holds the potential for beauty. The poet likens life to a worn-down house, one that has been mistreated and neglected and needed to transform it into something better. The poet likens life to a worn-down house, one that has been mistreated, neglected, but still retains good bones, the foundation needed to transform it into something better. This metaphor provides a poignant lens through which we can view our world, though I am overly fixated on my adopted country, the U.S., presently. Our nation, as well as many of its inhabitants, like that dilapidated house, have seen more than their share of neglect, abuse, and darkness. From the forced removal of indigenous peoples to the brutality of chattel slavery, from the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II to the violent suppression of civil rights, from the shaming and silencing of LGBTQ+ voices to the insidious threat of misogyny that still winds through our culture. And for a little while, things, at least to the dominant culture, seemed to have died down, even to the point where some might have started to think that we had arrived. I think it was because during those times we were relying too heavily on our good bones while failing to maintain our structure. However, the election of a black man to the highest office in the land, perhaps the world, brought out a resurgence of isms. Not only that, but those oppressive and discriminatory attitudes and beliefs were manifested more overtly and more boldly. Though it took many a while to catch on, they did eventually. Just after electing its first black president, the nation voted to that same office the scariest racial demagogue in a generation, as noted by author and activist Michael Eric Dyson. Then things really ramped up with hate group marching and openly spewing racist, misogynistic, and homophobic messages. I believe Obama's presidency was the catalyst that brought to light so much of the hidden animosities towards people of color, things that black folks had been experiencing all along, but may not have been perceived by the dominant culture. And yet, within or beneath the layers, within the fabric of this nation, there lies a strong, unyielding foundation that holds the potential for beauty, the good bones. Throughout history, for every act of cruelty, there have been acts of kindness and courage that have shown the resilience of the human spirit. Think of Harriet Tubman leading enslaved people to freedom through the Underground Railroad, or the abolitionist John Brown, whose dedication to the freedom of enslaved people led to his execution. Remember the selfless work of Clara Barton, who founded the American Red Cross, bringing hope to countless lives. Consider Fred Rogers, who dedicated his career to teaching children empathy and acceptance, believing in the power of small, consistent acts of love. During the 20th century, civil rights activists like Martin Luther King Jr. stood with unwavering hope, preaching nonviolence in the face of violent opposition. In a more recent time and broader, Malala Yousafzai, despite surviving an assassination attempt for advocacy for girls' education, emerged stronger to inspire change globally. These acts of compassion and bravery are reminders that for every shadow cast, there's light breaking through. Good bones. Just as there are people who have harbored hatred, there have always been those who respond with love and compassion. When hate groups attempt to instill fear, communities all over the world have come together in solidarity. Take, for example, the story of the White Helmets, a Syrian humanitarian group risking their lives to rescue victims of bombing, regardless of background or creed. Or consider the everyday heroes who stand up for strangers being harassed or engage in acts of kindness without fanfare. Racism, misogyny, and homophobia are persistent, and there are leaders and ordinary people working tirelessly toward a world built on justice and love. Black Lives Matter activists like the founders, Alicia, Patrice, and Opal, have mobilized a global reckoning with systemic racism. Advocates like Tarana Burke, who began the Me Too movement, have lifted the voice of survivors of sexual violence. Organizations such as Planned Parenthood, which we here at 1U are closely tied to, work to protect and expand access to sexual and reproductive health care and education, especially for women. Allies have rallied to defend LGBTQ+ rights in the face of hostility, exemplified by the tireless work of activists like Harvey Milk and like organizations, the Trevor Project, which is the leading suicide prevention and crisis intervention nonprofit for young people of LGBTQ+, from the LGBTQ+ population. So, our core is good and strong with good bones. then why are we here? We must acknowledge why there has been an increase in the vitriol we witness today. All this hate, all this anger. DU minister, theologian, author, and activist Sharon Welch explains it this way. The strides toward justice and civil rights, gender equality, LGBTQ+ acceptance have unsettled those who benefit from maintaining the status quo. The fear has driven some to respond with a yearning for a past that felt secure to them, but that security was built on the marginalization of others. The backlash we see is not because the work for justice has failed, but because it has succeeded in challenging the comfort zone of those who wield power. I think that is a powerful and hopeful statement. The backlash we see is not because the work for justice has failed, but because it has succeeded in challenging the comfort zones of those who wield power. The overt display of hatred we've witnessed can feel disorienting and demoralizing. It's tempting to become paralyzed by disbelief or to retreat into despair. But now is not the time to stand still. We are many, and our work, while vast, is shared among us. It is crucial to remember that we are part of a lineage of change makers who have weathered storms before and pushed the boundaries of what is possible. I do worry, though, because we, the people, have been fighting those injustices for so long, yet they remain or seem to remain strong and ready to do more damage. And worse, these injustices and their impact now appear to be endorsed openly by those in power from the very top down. At the same time, the work of social justice must continue. For what is the alternative? There is no alternative. For the marginalized, for people who work to be diverse, mutual, beloved community where all thrive. For people who covenant to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression. This is from Article 2 language, beloveds. The work must continue. As Maggie's poem suggests, we can't ignore the brokenness of the world, nor can we deny the good bones that lie beneath. We are reminded that we do not need to do it all alone. We have companions in this work. We have examples of progress that prove change is achievable. From the passage of the Civil Rights Act to the legislation of same-sex marriage, history shows us that our collective efforts matter. But the work is not done, and it may never be. At least not in our lifetime, but that doesn't mean it's not worth pursuing. We are tasked with the sacred responsibility, yes, the sacred responsibility of holding on to hope and moving forward with the conviction that this place, this country, our world has good bones. It can be made beautiful. So let us refuse to let the present struggles immobilize us. Let us find our footing again, knowing that for every stone cast, there are hands ready to build. For every dark chapter, there is light that refuses to be extinguished. And for every voice that spews hatred, there are multitudes singing songs of hope, resilience, and justice. Our house has good bones. With faith, courage, and relentless hope, we can make this place beautiful. And now, Good Bones, the shadow poem. Life is short, and I have shared this with my children. Life is short, and I have shortened mine in 1,000 delicious, ill-advised ways. 1,000 deliciously ill-advised ways I'll share with my children. The world is at least 50% delightful, and that's a liberal estimate, and I've shared this with my children. For every bird stoned, there is one who's welcomed with a bird feeder. For every child broken, bagged, and sunk in a lake, there is a loved child who is the sun and the moon to their parents. Life is short, and the world is at least half delightful. And for every stranger who would break you, there is a kind one who will welcome you with open arms. And I've shared this with my children. I am trying to sell them the world. Any decent realtor walking through a real crap hole chirps on about Good Bones. This place could be beautiful, right? You could make this place beautiful. And now join me in singing our closing hymn, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place.
Please rise.
Do not be dismayed by the brokenness of the world. All things break, and all things can be mended. Not with time, as they say, but with intention. So go. Love intentionally, extravagantly, unconditionally. The broken world waits in darkness for the light that is you. Reverend L.R. Knotts. Beloveds, worship has ended, and now the service truly begins. And the call to action that I have for us today is really one of the paragraphs from the sermon, which is, the work is not done, and it may not be done in our lifetime, but it is still worth pursuing. We have the sacred task and the responsibility of holding on to hope and moving forward with the conviction that this place has good bones. It can be made beautiful. So let's do our part, and let's remember the good bones, and let's continue the work of justice. May we be so blessed.
Please say these words with me as we extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Friend of mine, 16, gets right here.